It's all canceled. Ladies and gentlemen, the crash could be over, at least in part due to this Japan carry trade. I will give you the latest and the details in what you need to know here in this video. At the same time, Tesla's stock is not feeling much of the love from this, down about 1.5% today. So what's going on with Tesla? We'll talk about it. But first, traders resume the yen carry trade as Bank of Japan plunges no rate hikes during market volatility. Deputy Governor Shinichi Yoshida pledged not to hike interest rates if markets are volatile. He said, quote, "As we're seeing sharp volatility in domestic and overseas financial markets, it's necessary to maintain current levels of monetary easing for the time being," Yoshida said in a meeting with business leaders in Japan. "Personally, I see factors propping up that require us being cautious about raising interest rates," he said in a post-meeting news conference. And just like that, the yen carryover trade is over. Well, at least the implosion from the yen carryover trade, where Japanese traders were caught off sides last week when the Bank of Japan raised rates when they were not expected to. That caused margin calls for Japanese investors, which caused those Japanese investors to sell global securities. A lot of those securities are based in the US. But John Lynch, Chief Investment Officer for Comerica Bank Wealth Management, says, quote, "Today's announcement from the BOJ about a halt on rate increases suggests the damage from the unwinding of the carry trade still needs to play out, as it's possible many hedge funds still remain offsides." David Morrison, senior market analyst at Trade Nation, says, quote, "This dampening fears that the BOJ would rush to raise rates further as it was last week's bigger than expected rate hike, which was seen as one of the triggers for the stock market rout. The speech has helped to soften in the yen and give back some of last month's outsized gains. That should take some pressure off those still exposed to the yen carry trade, of which there are still significant numbers." So a lot of banks and Wall Street analysts just say this is taking the pressure off. It's not solving the problem, but at least for now, it may not be getting worse as long as the Fed does not raise rates over in Japan. It just feels like you probably need to have your day of reckoning for this carryover trade. And to get out of this carryover trade, it does still mean more selling. It's probably going to come. But for now, I don't want to say the coast is clear, but for now, the main problem that we've been dealing with is at least over with. Now, I will point out markets have given back quite a bit of the gain that we had earlier in the day today. You've already fallen almost 1% from the peak of the trading day today. It looks like you've also got rejected again around this 100-day moving average, which is not necessarily the greatest sign. Tesla stock today seems to be getting no love from this. Tesla stock is down about 2%. You can see other big tech stocks like Nvidia down 1%. Meta just went red, down 1/10%. But other big tech names are up 1% in Google's case. Microsoft up 1.3%. Amazon's up almost 2%. And Apple is up 2.3% today. So what is going on with Tesla? Well, there's not actually a clear answer for this. It can be kind of parsed out a few different ways. First of all, you could say Rivian down 3.5% today following their earnings and a very large loss that's still taking place over at Rivian could spark some fears in Tesla. More of an algorithmic selling phenomena could be taking place today with Tesla, because you actually have quite a bit of good news today for Tesla stock investors. Actually being reported today that Tesla cars have been included on government procurement lists in more Chinese provinces. This time the Model Y has been approved for purchase in the eastern province of Fujian. Sunrun has entered into an agreement with Tesla Electric to support Texas energy grid. The partnership will allow residents to receive compensation for sharing energy from their Tesla Powerwall batteries to help stabilize the grid for all Texans. Comparing Tesla's earnings to other EV makers, solely EV makers like Rivian and Lucid, it becomes just how obvious Tesla is as the only real success story here. For Q2, research and development spend R&D was $1.07 billion at Tesla, $428 million at Rivian, and Lucid had $287 million. Revenue for Tesla came in at $25.5 billion, Rivian $1.16 billion, and Lucid $200 million. Net income / loss, Tesla brought in a $1.48 billion profit. Rivian lost $1.46 billion, and Lucid lost $790 million. And I think today there's some fears that Rivian is going to go bankrupt because of this pace. They are. It's also being reported today that Tesla has revealed that in Q2 2024, they recorded one crash for every 6.88 million miles driven in which drivers were using autopilot technology, their best Q2 number ever. For drivers who are not using autopilot technology, Tesla recorded one crash for every 1.45 million miles driven. By comparison, the most recent data available from the NHTSA and FHWA from 2022 shows that in the US, there was an automobile crash approximately every 670,000 miles. So I would say this is also good news today. In other news, Waymo is set to expand autonomous ride-hailing services areas in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Now, the markets might be looking at this as a little bit of bad news, but let's be honest, Waymo and Tesla's robotaxi network in the future are so far different. You really can't even compare the two, okay? Tesla is looking at launching in many cities basically simultaneously. Flip a button on your phone, as Elon says, or tap a button on your phone and your car begins to be a robotaxi, okay? We're talking mass scale here, not a geo-fenced platform like Waymo. But what I will say is Waymo seeing this success and getting approval is actually great news for Tesla because it's going to make it a lot easier for Tesla to also get approval when Tesla's time does come. I will also say some of this intraday volatility that you are seeing in the S&P could be due to this impending conflict in the Middle East. The Israel military chief says, quote, "We are at peak readiness." So nothing has happened yet. We're kind of just waiting around to see what is going to happen. And as I've said many times before, geopolitical tensions, they come and go. They have a short-term fear impact on markets, and then they're over with. It's not something that is long-lasting. So this attack could happen tonight. It could happen a week from now. No matter when it happens, markets will probably freak out because of it, especially given how volatile markets are right now. And then we'll get over it again. It's not something I think that is even worth trading at this point. Of course, you can trade it, but we don't know when it's going to happen. It's just going to be so short term that it doesn't even really matter at all. In other news for Tesla, it looks like Tesla has temporarily paused Model Y deliveries in Canada amid rebate approval delay for Chinese imports. And Canada is not a huge market for Tesla, but you can see how this headline hitting the news wires could cause some short-term selling or fear. Fear that maybe Tesla's numbers are not going to come in as good for Q3, although I don't think this really moves the needle for Tesla. Elon Musk last night responded to Stephen Mark Ryan's video about the Tucker Carlson Cybertruck review, and Elon Musk says it's a great truck. We need to make it more affordable in the years to come. So that's really all of the news today for Tesla stock. So you can see why it's a little confusing, to be honest, why Tesla is underperforming so much relative to other big tech names that are, for the most part, pretty strong today. that are up 1 to 2% basically across the board. Nvidia's a little more volatile, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Tesla's short interest of free float sits at 3.76%. You currently have about $21 billion currently sold short in Tesla, totaling 104.32 million shares. As far as the interesting flow sentiment and option activity from big money in Tesla today via Ortex, you can see 9 different trades totaling $2.62 million with a positive order value of 14%. Over on Google Trends, you can see some strong trends for the Cybertruck at 75, the Model Y at 25, the Model 3 at 24, the Model S at 9, and the Model X at 8. CNN's Fear and Greed Index is still sitting in extreme fear territory, which at this point I don't think we're in extreme fear, more like fear. So that's kind of strange. We're not moving up more on the CNN Fear and Greed Index as markets are moving up. The percent of stocks currently trading above their 50-day moving average is back to 42.89%. You are up 3.52% today, meaning 3.5% of stocks today are breaking above their 50-day moving average. This is a pretty sharp rebound from where you were at the lows at about 30% of stocks above their 50-day moving average. Over on StockTwit, sentiment for Tesla, as you would expect, is neutral today at 48. Yesterday, you were bullish at 57, so sentiment's a little bit worse today than it was yesterday. Message volume is normal today at 48. Yesterday, it was normal at 47, and the participation ratio today is high at 55. Tesla continues to run about 4,000 different ads with Google, and Tesla's global inventory numbers do show the Model Y upticking about 100 vehicles in inventory to 6,500 total. You could see the Model 3 is falling to 5,500, the Model X is falling to 3,750, and the Model S is falling to 2,700. 10-year Treasury yields today are up about 5.5 basis points to 3.94%. And if we take a look at the technicals specifically for Tesla, today it looks like you did get rejected around that 200-day moving average. Again, this is the third day in a row we found resistance here. So if I imagine we're going to trade between the 100-day and the 200-day moving average, but you have been in the high 90s. Like, it's not like you're coming down and testing the 100-day moving average, at least over the past 2 days. So I think there is kind of the trajectory of the upside, not the downside, right? I think you are more likely to break out to the upside for Tesla as long as this Japanese carry trade does not, continue to fall apart, as long as the data coming out tomorrow, in which we'll discuss in the next video, is not too bad or too recessionary. I do think Tesla's trend is higher at this point. I mean, you did hit 182 and now you're at 198. So you've definitely gotten some of the gain, of the loss, I guess I should say, back for Tesla, but we're still far off where we just recently were at $271 per share. If we break that 200-day moving average, that's where you start to get more momentum to the upside. 200-day moving average specifically is at $203.34 per share. We could see the RSI for Tesla is at 39.23, so it's not super oversold, but you're definitely on the oversold side still for Tesla. The MACD line is negative 4.17. The signal line is positive 2.05. So you're definitely still not looking too strong on the MACD, which does potentially mean we can start to bottom out, start to kind of at least try to go higher in the days to come if we can stay at even current prices. I will also remind you that we did have a golden cross where the 50-day moving average did break above the 200-day moving average. This was on July 29th. Historically, that does lead to gains. It does have about an 80% success ratio in leading to further upside. We did not see that. We've seen Tesla stock has fallen since then. And that's another sign to potentially point to and say, hey, maybe Tesla can start to regain some of the upside momentum that we have recently lost. But I think time will tell on that front. And volume today looks to be pretty good. 36 million. We still have about an hour left or so of the trading day. So thanks from all of this perspective. Look, I guess okay. Relative to other big tech, you have bounced quite a bit, but we will see what does happen in the days to come. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and if you made it to the end of this video. If you guys also want to come trade with us live in real time, check out that link down below in the description of this video. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.